It's time to rev your engines. The Syracuse Nationals proudly presents the Cavalcade of Cars, March 22nd through 23rd at the New York State Fairgrounds. The two-day indoor car show features all the classics, plus lifted trucks, Jeeps, motorcycles, and more. Cavalcade of Cars, CNY.com.
Here are former Syracuse standouts Etan Thomas and Eric Dievendorf.
What's going on, everyone? It's Monday. We're on time today. It's not Friday. It's not Tuesday. It's not Wednesday. We're back at Monday. So we appreciate everyone joining in and listening. E, what's going on? How was your weekend?
I was good. Yeah, can't complain. Watched a lot of college basketball. You know what I mean? Can't complain at all. How about you?
It was good, man. So I was blessed, man. I got to do the Florida State game. So it was Coach Leonard Hamilton's last regular season game of his career. So it was pretty cool doing that. And then they had like a reception for him after. They had a bunch of the former guys back. Sam Bowie was there, who was it was actually, I think that was one of his first recruits at Kentucky. And we all know Sam Bowie from the guy who got drafted ahead of Michael Jordan. But actually, he had a pretty solid NBA career, man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's going to be compared to Michael Jordan, so that's kind of not fair.
Exactly.
He's Michael Jordan.
I looked up at like his stats, and he averaged like 11 and 8 or something like that through his career in a couple blocks. He played almost 11 years, and now he lives in Lexington, and he owns a bunch of racehorses. So that's what he's doing now. So no, it was a cool weekend seeing that. It was almost similar to obviously like when Bayheimer was retiring. So no, that was cool. But yeah, it was. And then Cuse won. You know, Cuse got a good victory on Senior Day. Shout out to Eddie Lampkin again, man. We've been shouting him out a lot. He tied the program record for most double doubles in a year. With 14, and he almost shot perfect from the field. He was 11 for 12, and he had 25 and 10. So it was just good to see those guys end the regular season on a good note. And you heard Coach Red in the press conference, you know, just kind of reiterating that, talking about them not giving up during the season, and it's going to be some rough patches. What are you going to do? Are you going to quit, or are you going to keep going? And he was proud of his guys for continuing to go. So it was good to see that.
Yeah, it was definitely good. It was a fun game to watch. You know, the dome's kind of rocking. You know, the guys' energy. Just from the start, everybody was playing with like emotions, and you can tell it meant something to them. And it was really important because throughout this whole season, I don't know why it kept coming up that if guys are going to quit or if they have no longer anything to play for, all these different things. And I'm like, why does that keep coming up? Like, nobody has said anything even close to that. They've actually said the opposite. From the locker room to the coaching staff to everybody has repeated, we are not giving up. So why do people keep saying that? But that just shows, the resilience. Like fans, you wouldn't be proud of a team if they just gave up. Like, I don't understand where that came from. Like, where did that even start?
I don't know. It's just, look, obviously we're not having a good year, and negativity just seems to, come in full force when stuff like that's happening. But yeah, guys aren't going to give up. I mean, look, guys have much more pride than that playing, right? And it's more to it now, right? It's like it's NIL involved. So they're showcasing themselves not only like for Syracuse, but for the whole nation in college basketball. And that's just the era that we're in. It's almost like a free agency type thing.
Yeah. So what do you think about, because I've heard a lot of reaction, from John Waldeck kind of announcing that Red would be back next year. You're someone who is the whole season. You said, I don't know why y'all keep talking about this. He's going to be back next year. And you always listed the reasons why. And you always said, that as much as fans keep saying, they want Red fired, fire Red after every loss. He's like, you kept saying he's going to be back, but a lot of the fans were a little bit upset. That was a lot of the chatter. I heard that talked about a lot. They even mentioned it on one of the broadcasts, about what's going to happen, next year. And, the shocking news that Red is going to be brought back. What is your reaction to that? Why is it such a shock? And do you understand why fans are a little bit upset right now at Red?
I mean, obviously the history with Syracuse is a winning tradition, but I mean, honestly, and we were talking about it the last 10, 12 years, it's been a struggle throughout the regular season. We had years where, we got deeper into the tournament, but those regular seasons have still been a struggle. I don't know why it's a shock to fans that he's coming back. I mean, he's had 2 years, right? Only his first year, it was kind of like he was just getting implementing, his system, his players, getting comfortable. This year, his best player was hurt for 7, 8 games. His second best player, Donnie Freeman, missed half the season. It was a lot of in and out. It was a lot of figuring out. He had a new staff. Like, guys were trying to figure out their roles. And again, I'm not trying to give excuses, but fans want it like this. They want it right away, right? And it's when you have a coach who was there for almost 50 years and you transfer into another coach, it's going to be some hard times. You're not everyone could be like Duke right away, where they just have success, right away from year one. But and we were talking about it too. Like, there's other teams that had the same struggles. We talked about Notre Dame and Coach Shrewsbury, and Georgia Tech with Coach Stoudemire. If you look at their records over the first 2 years, I mean, they have losing records, right? And I think both of those guys have done a pretty good job, trying to get their system and implement their system and get their guys into it. But if you had conversations with them, it'd be the same thing. It takes a little bit of time, right? Especially in this era where it's a big turnover every single year. What's happening at Louisville, that's rare, to have 14 new guys and just have a new head coach come in and have a season like they're having. That's why he's going to be coach of the year in the ACC. And he probably should be considered coach of the year nationally, what Pat Kelsey has done. But it takes some time. It's not only Coach Red going through it, and obviously, again, the Syracuse fan base, the expectations are high and they want it right away. But and again, they weren't going to fire him and have to pay a new coach and then pay 2 more years on his contract. That just wasn't going to happen. So if you guys should have known that right away. Like, that wasn't going to happen, right? And now they got a good class coming in, but they have to get the transfer portal. They have to hit the transfer portal, and that's key. But it wasn't a shock to me that he was coming back. I think you give him another year. You see what he could do with this class coming in. Now they have time to attack the transfer portal. They didn't have time last year, and that was just a fact. They were in the middle of the summer and just get into the transfer portal. And no slight to these guys, but I mean, that's who they ended up with. Guys who weren't really sought after in that transfer portal, and the way they've had their struggles this year, but I think they have time to be able to hit it, like right now or during the year, like they've been doing, and we'll see what happens.
It's interesting. I've been reading a lot of the comments, you know what I mean? Because I just want to hear what fans think and hear what they say and how they react to different things. So I'm going to do a little contrast here. So I've been following Rick Pitino, who has been having an unbelievable year at St. John's. Probably coach of the year, right? Actually unbelievable. He became the first coach to win a conference title at 5 different schools. Like, that's major, right? Conference title. But all the time, in every single chat, and every single post, everything like that, somebody brings up the things of the past that Pitino, went through. That he, as far as the allegations, the prostitutes, escorts, whatever was going on in Louisville, the thing with the waitress, they bring that up and they say, well, how does he keep getting chances when that's hanging? Keep hearing that all over and over again. And it's a very simple answer. He wins. That's it. Nobody cares about all that. Win. There was a chart that showed his winning, how he changed programs, and this leads into why I think some of the Syracuse fans are still upset. Because they're looking at this is the type of change that they want. Okay, so when he got to Boston University, Rick Pitino, they were 10-15, right? 2 years later, they were 21-9 under him. Okay, he got to Providence. They were 11-12, right? The year before he got there. 2 years later,
11-20.
11
11
and
and
20.
20.
That's funny. 11 and 20, right? And 2 years later, they're 25-9 under Pitino. You know, you got Kentucky. The year before he got there, 13-19, right? 2 years later, under Pitino, they're 22-6. Louisville, 12-19. The year before he got there, right? 2 years later, 25-7. You can keep going. Every single place he went to, Iona, there was 12-17 the year before he got there, right? So 2 years after that, they're 25-9. And now with St. John's, they were 18-15 the year before he got there. Now they're 26-4. So that type of that type of change, nothing else matters. They ain't worried about no prostitutes and no allegations and no anything else that happened in the past and all that different stuff or what happened with the waitress and everything. They're not worried about any of that. It's what have you done for me lately? So now going back to the Syracuse fans, right? I think Red is likable. They all like him. There's nothing personal. They're just looking at wins and losses. And they're like, okay, we don't want to hear about no excuses, about no transfer portal, about no NIL. We just want results. We don't care about anything else. And so I think that's what I've been hearing a lot of as far as the fans and why they're so upset, because they don't care about any of the details. They just want wins. Do you think that's pretty accurate?
I mean, I get that, but there's much more that goes into it, and okay, now we're comparing Coach Red to Coach Pitino. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, Coach Pitino is a Hall of Fame, bona fide Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. He's the guy who could come in and do that right away. And again, he comes into St. John. I mean, he has the body armor guy come in right away and just, hey, whatever you need for NIL, I got you. So like he has those connections with him from years and years and years of connections and networking and being one of the greatest coaches. So yeah, I mean, we can't compare that, and I get it. Yes, it is about winning, but it's much more than that, especially now. It's so much more. Look, this is facts right here. He didn't have the support for the NIL this year at all. He didn't. He didn't have the support. He honestly, with Red coming in, and we could nitpick, and yes, there's some things that he could have done a lot better, but he didn't have the support that he needed to have success right away. Right. And I think for him, he was still trying to figure it out, still trying to navigate how to go about it in this landscape. Right. And he had a new staff. Besides Griff, he brought in two guys who same deal. I mean, they haven't coached at this level either. I mean, regardless of where you coached at, this is Syracuse University. The expectations are much, much higher than anywhere you're going to be at. Syracuse is a top 5 winning program of all time. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Syracuse. It might be Michigan State. I don't know who the other one. UCLA. Mm-hmm. That's where Syracuse is at. So I understand the fans' frustration. And again, it's not just this year. It's been 8 to 10 years of almost getting in or being on the bubble. And go back to when we were playing, that wasn't the case. It was 21 seasons. That's what you're doing. It was no, that was it. Boom, 20 wins. But again, you look back and you see the talent that we had. And look, Coach Boeheim was one of the greatest coaches of all time, but he also had the players to do it. All you had to do, you had guys on your team, you just go give them the ball, and it was just, all right, let's make something happen. You didn't need plays. You don't have a lot of guys in this team who could do that. It's much more involved, much more coaching. You have to have much more strategy. So you got to give Red one more year and see what he could do. Now, if we're talking about this again next year, okay, you're probably going to make a move.
And listen, I know we got to go to a break, so let's take a break, and we'll be right back with more on QSportsTalk.com. Cool. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, E.
Yes, I mean,
in the chat.
The chat are saying me and you need to be on staff.
On staff?
That's what they're saying. I'm just saying that's what the chat's saying. I think for me, the reason why there was a question of whether to move on Autry is the rise of Brian Hodgson, and looking back a decade from now and seeing that we missed out on the window to course correct. Brian Hodgson, the guy from Alabama, would be great wherever his next stop is. Hopefully Autry can turn this around. And yeah, I see it. I get win. I get it. We all want to win, but it's not just as simple as that.
Yeah.
You talk to all these coaches, man. All of them are it's the same thing. It's not like just one coach is saying something different. They're all saying the same thing. I've talked to all the coaches in the ACC. It's just difficult, man. If you're not Duke or really Duke and Louisville and Clemson, everyone else is having the same type of struggles. And it's kind of crazy with Clemson because they don't really have a guy you'd be like, oh, Chase Hunter's going to be first team, but they don't have a guy who's like an outstanding NBA prospect on their team. They just don't. Like Chase Hunter probably won't get drafted, I don't think. But they just play well together. They got vets.
Yeah, I mean, you see different dynamics in different teams. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like I was looking at, and I didn't notice. But I was looking at Auburn's starting lineup, right? Mm-hmm. And their average age is like around the same amount as the Oklahoma City Thunder's average age.
Hey, you could be 27 now.
I was like, how is that possible? You know what I mean? It's like it's a different landscape. I don't know, man. I don't know if they're going to do something about it or change it or something like that, but it's a minor league. It's a minor league.
.com. This is the Etan and Devo Show. Here are former Syracuse standouts Etan Thomas and Eric Devendorf.
Welcome back, everyone. So yeah, E, we're on the topic of Rick Pitino and Red Autry.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because it was just saying it in the break, and I'm looking at the different landscape and the way things are different now. And I mentioned that the Oklahoma City Thunder, their average age is around the same, maybe 1 year older than Auburn's starting lineup of average age. And that's crazy. That's just a crazy dynamic of where college basketball is. You know, I'm someone who was definitely in favor of the transfer portal in theory. You know what I mean? In theory, before they implemented it. I was like, okay, well, you know, if you're at a place and your coach leaves, the coach that recruited you leaves or gets fired, that you should be able to leave without any kind of penalty. And I still think that 100%. But the way that the transfer portal is now, and I think I just saw, Dan Hurley say, yeah, half of his guys, literally 50% of his team are going to go in the transfer portal as soon as the season's
I saw that.
I mean, it's a different dynamic now. And I don't know if that's good. It's just a minor league. Everybody is 1 year minor league. I don't know if they will ever change it back, but I would be okay with the transfer portal being, of course, if your coach leaves, then you can leave with no penalty. I honestly wouldn't be against it going back to where it was before, where, you know, maybe you get one time to transfer, or
exactly.
If you do transfer, then, you know, outside of that one time, then you have to sit out a year. But I think they need to change. They can't be just 1,000 guys in the transfer portal every single year. That's not good.
And a lot of these, you talk about more than 1,000 guys. A lot of them don't even get picked up, and they don't have anywhere to go.
And they're just stuck.
Exactly, just stuck. And to your point, they should only be allowed one time to transfer. Right. You shouldn't be. I mean, I'm doing some of these games, and I'm not going to say any names or whatever, but it's some of these guys were at a school every single year, a new one. They're on their fifth year, and this is their fifth school. How can you establish anything Like, not only that, but what is it teaching you? Like, I don't know the circumstances around these guys, but a lot of times it seems to me is like when the adversity comes, or you're having some issues with playing time or whatever it is, you just run the other way.
Also, it's important to note that there are a lot of times where coaches are telling players to go transfer because I'm going to go into the transfer and recruit over you, for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And it's just a different, it's a one free agency. So like, all right, we see this player, you didn't do anything wrong. We just see another player that just might be better than you. You know what I mean? So
that's 100%.
So you have to always add that. It's not only just the players, skipping everything like that. There's a lot of coaches who are using the transfer portal that way as well. But that goes to my point. I don't know. I think what you said before, one time as a transfer, and that's what you get. And then after that, if you transfer past that, then you have to sit out. But then especially if your coach leaves, then you can transfer without any penalty. That's what I think they should go back to.
It has to be, because it's no accountability on anyone's side. I mean, it's just the wild west. And then as far as like the NIL stuff goes, they have to do a salary cap. You're paying guys. Like, so why not treat it like professional sports? Because that's what it is. I mean, really. So it has to be a salary cap. And now, I mean, that at least it evens it out a little bit for teams. It's not you got one team who has $50 million budget, and then you got another team who has $2 million budget. It has to be a salary cap. But now they're talking about
we have different budgets. We're in that category.
Yes, we are, and hopefully not for long. But right. I mean, it's crazy, man. There has to be something done about the NIL, about the transfer portal, because you could have a team. We talk about Dan Hurley. He just won 2 national championships back to back. Now he could be one of the teams who drops to the bottom of the Big East because he loses half his team. That's why I gotta give credit to Brad Brownell at Clemson for he's doing something right, just keeping those guys there. I mean, because they had guys who probably had the opportunity to go transfer somewhere else, and maybe even if it's at a school who is not as good, but we're going to give you a little bit more money, and that's appealing to guys, especially when you're not going to your prospect to go to the NBA isn't as high as other people. If you have a chance, and I said this about Marcus Burton at Notre Dame, like he's special. Like at his size, he's unbelievable. He just had 43 against Cal in the 4 overtime game. Leads the ACC in scoring, but look at his size, he's probably not going to get drafted. You know what I mean? And that's just and that's taken away nothing from his skill level, but for him, stay as long as you can, because now they got to pay you $1 million if you stay in college. Like at Notre Dame, they had to pay him $1 million this year. Next year, you might get even more. Yeah, I'll be surprised if he stays at Notre Dame. Just because somebody's going to come at him with a big bag.
Speaking on that, there's been a lot of talk about who's going to stay and return with Syracuse. And, and I kept saying, hey, there's no guarantee that Donnie Freeman is going to come back. Y'all, kind of penciling him in, but he's going to hit the, free market. He's going to get offers, made to him after the season and everything like that. He's going to have different decisions that he has to make. What would your advice be to Donnie Freeman in particular, as far as, what he should do once he hits that market after the season?
Well, don't enter your name in the NBA draft. That's for one. Don't do that. And will you get drafted? Yeah, probably. But you'll just get sent down to the G League, and then it's wolves in the G League. It's like those dudes are grown men with families of four kids, and like they're hungry. So don't put yourself in that situation. Right? You're definitely an NBA talent. Get healthy. Like show your improvement through the summer into the next season for these NBA scouts, right? Because right now they're still trying to figure out, where they would put you at, because of the perimeter. You're shaky on the perimeter with your ball handling, you're shooting. Inside, you need to get some weight, right? I think he could be like a 3-4 in the league if he improves his ball skills and adds some weight defensively. But look, you got to go to where it's the best situation for him. And I would love to see him stay at Syracuse. But if somebody comes and gives you $2 million, I'm leaving. I mean, that's just what it is. And it's going to be $2 million. Not only is it going to be $2 million, but it's going to be from a good school. Because only good schools can afford that. So whether it's a SEC school like a Texas or a Kentucky or wherever it is, right? And that's realistic. Like those schools are, I'm sure they're in his phone right now, or talking to his agent right now. Like that's realistic. So, man, I hope Syracuse can get some money for him because they're going to have to. Unless you just love the coach who recruited you that much. But again. I can love you from afar.
Right?
I can love you from afar, coach. This $2 million, and like if you could get that right now, and I always think back when I was, back when we were playing, and when I was playing, it's like I'm taking that because you don't know what's gonna, if you're going to get hurt or what's going to happen. So if I could get that right now and set myself up, especially from like where, look, a lot of these people or a lot of these players are coming from situations where they need that type of money. That's life changing. Most people are not going to make that money in their entire life.
Right.
Talking about 1 million, let alone at 19, 20 years old. Mm-hmm. So if you have that opportunity, man, I'd love to see you at Q's, Donnie. I'd love to. But if you had the opportunity to go and get that, man, you got to leave, man. And maybe it's not as much to him because he knows he's going to the NBA, but you never know. But he got hurt this year. Right. You just never know. So you got to take that right now. I hope Hughes can get that NIL up for it, man, because I don't think he really showed. He showed it, but he wasn't even healthy the whole year. He was playing with that hurt foot the whole season, still averaging like 13 and 8 or whatever it was. I mean, this kid is as talented as they come, man. He's one of the best freshmen in the ACC in the country for real. So it'd just be great to see him fully healthy in a Q's uniform. But I don't know, man. He might be going somewhere else.
We'll see. I know we have to go to another break. When we come back, I want to ask you about this LeBron confrontation with Stephen A. Smith. I found it very interesting, and I would like to get your take on it. So let's take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
The 315 with Brian.
All right.
Could Melo launch a brand featuring? Say it again.
What's the chatter saying?
They're just talking about NIL. The idea of NIL is a great idea. NCAA and teams have been making millions, if not billions, off of these players' NIL, and the players couldn't make more money off of it, off a YouTube channel. They should have adjusted. So it's not, it has to be adjusted. I mean, I agree that they should be paid. It's just, it's so tough right now, man. And they're talking about doing like mega conferences.
Yeah.
I don't even see how that. Now you're just going to, all those little schools, they're done. Like they're going to have to cut programs.
I mean, it's going to be like the different parity. That's what happens in the league. What's going on, Paulie? That's what happens in the league. What you got, Paulie? Paulie dropped in on us. What you thinking?
Oh, yeah, we can't hear you, Paulie.
I hear it. Oh, I can't hear him either. Ah. That means Paulie has some good stuff going on.
We'd love to have his take on Stephen A. He just got signed, 5-year, $100 million?
Goodness.
I mean, ESPN, Disney, they got it. It's nothing.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Not much.
What'd you think?
I didn't know I was going to be on.
Live from Charlotte.
Live from Charlotte.
Yeah.
Go down.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah.
It's good to see you guys. You look great.
No, thank you.
You look great too.
Thank you.
I'll take it.
Did you drive there or what? Of course you did.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever take the train or do you just drive yourself?
Yeah. I'll take the train sometimes.
Just sit back and chill.
Yeah. Go to Notre Dame on the train.
Really?
Yeah.
some characters on that train.
Oh, I get a room. I get a room on the train. I don't interact with the people. No.
Yeah, next time if you want to interact with people, take the take the Greyhound. You'll see some interesting.
Yeah, totally.
I took the
I've
Greyhound
done that
in college. Oh man, I've seen some interesting stuff on the Greyhound. Jeez.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just like that was college days. It was $20 for a Greyhound ticket. So boom, I'm right on there.
Right on there. Right on there. That's what's up.
All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your show. I'm going to go load my car up so I can go to my next hotel.
Do your thing.
Nice. All right, Paulie. He's going to another hotel. What's going on with him? Yeah, what's going on? Like, were there bed bugs or what? Oh, that's a good. That's absolutely. You know, my man made a good point, Ryan, about the. I guess he was comparing like Giannis brothers being in the NBA, like and Bronny. I think Bronny should be in the NBA more than Giannis's brothers.
Yeah, but you look at the stuff with Giannis's brothers. Everybody jokes about the low light that he has, but his highlights when he's playing different places, I don't think it was.
No, he was killing in Greece.
He was in Greece, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he was just, those guys are just like high energy effort guys. You know what I mean? It's not like and he was a great teammate. Like the dude was clapping hard as heck on the floor every time. I mean,
for Giannis, it was like invaluable.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's why they kept him there, because they wanted to make sure Giannis was good.
Yes, for him, it was invaluable. They talked about the game when he came back after he had COVID. I think it was Jeff Tito. Yeah, he's invaluable for that.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. Hey, I wanted to ask you about this because I've seen it. You know, people talking about it. And was Ron's confrontation with Stephen A. Smith courtside, and it was interesting. You know, I heard people from both sides, you know, saying, no, LeBron should never do that. He should never do it, you know, in public. You know, other people saying, well, that's a father protecting his son. And other people saying, well, LeBron is a grown man. He's not a child. You know, if you're in the NBA, that you can be criticized just like everybody else. People all over the place. What were your thoughts about it?
So, and I don't know if like LeBron had a chance to, talk to Stephen A. in private before this, or it was just kind of like a spur of the moment thing where he saw him and he's like, man, I'm going to go ahead and confront this man right now. Like, first of all, I understand if you talk about my kids in a negative way, yeah, we're going to have to talk, you know what I mean? Because he was, look, if you go back to the clips he was killing Bronny, you know, yeah. And I think to his point too, and, Stephen A. Smith is great at what he does, right? I mean, I think he always has a valid opinion, and he's great at his job. But I just think that with him coming at Bronny, it was like almost like a vendetta he had against LeBron. You know what I mean? He was like, and then you see some clips where he was saying that it was LeBron's fault. You know, LeBron put all this pressure on him and did that. Of course, LeBron, made a way for him to get into the league. I mean, he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. All right. But I think Bronny has showed steps in improvement where he could give himself a chance. I think other guys are better. Yes, I do. I think but if you look flat out, if you're talking about my son in a negative way, if you're talking about my daughter, whatever it is, we're going to have a conversation. I don't know if he could have did it before or after. I wouldn't have done it in a public setting because now people are making it seem like you did that on purpose so we could see you do that. And you wanted it to be a whole thing. And my thing, I think Stephen A. Smith, handled himself well. Like, hey, basically saying, let's not do it here, boom, boom, boom. And then LeBron was just saying, man, F that, F this. We talk about my son. And we don't really know when you talk about people's kids, that whole different light switch, so it's like, we not waiting on nothing. Let's talk about it right now. So I can see both sides, but if you talk about my kids, you're going to have to hear from me.
So I think it was even deeper than him just talking about his kids. Stephen A. Smith questioned him as a father.
Really?
He was like, he said something like, as a father, stop doing what you're doing to your son. Or he said something of that nature. And it was like, that's not just a critique. That's something different. So if you're going to take it there and then say, oh, well, let's handle it privately, you did that publicly. You know what I mean? So I don't know. You're going to handle it privately. But it's of course, anybody can be critiqued. And when you're an NBA player, college player, high school player, people critique you. That's fine. The Browns critiqued his whole career. I don't know how he took all that from Skip Bayless, and they never responded at all, but he did. But questioning somebody as a parent, that's a little bit extra. That's more. You know what I mean? So I think that was a lot of people are missing, but that was the part that I felt was a little bit much. And I think that Stephen A. Smith actually took a step back and might have, kind of looked in his response, because I was expecting Stephen A. Smith to do what Stephen A. Smith always does. Like, I don't care what you say, like that kind of thing. But he didn't do that. He was like, no, he was coming to me as a father, and I have to say that, I feel bad about that. That's not how Stephen A. Smith usually reacts to things. So that told me that, maybe he understood that, okay, yeah, I made this a little personal. So, and LeBron's pretty powerful, and so it's not just going to be like he's talking about just some random NBA. This is one of the greatest players of all time. But I heard somebody say, why didn't he? And maybe he did. I don't know. This just was in public. Why didn't he approach Jaylen Brown with that same type of energy when he was talking about Bronny in the summer league, saying he doesn't deserve to be in the NBA? I mean, that's a whole different thing, right? Because he's not questioning his parenting. But that was somebody catching Jaylen Brown while he's sitting in the crowd and reading his lips and saying this is what they think that he said. Totally different than Stephen A. Smith going on air, saying what he said. I think those are really apples and oranges. I understand your point, but those are kind of two different things.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just think so. For me, this is how I'm going about it. Is I'm not doing it where everyone can see me in uniform. I'm just not doing it because regardless if you're right or wrong or whatever it is, you just put more heat on you, and you already got. And maybe he doesn't even care. Maybe he doesn't care at all. But I'm just going to do it to where no one knows it's even happening. You know what I mean? It's like
it might have not been pre-planned though. It might have been just where it's not like
right.
So he was going to be at the game. It looked like he was just warming up, and he was like, "Oh, there go that dude right there." You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Now, hey, keep my son's name out your mouth. Like, that's kind of what it seemed like. I mean, I'll paraphrase. I don't think LeBron actually said that, but
he said a couple more things.
He said a little bit, but that's how I think that happened.
Yeah, and I mean, we just talked about Stephen A. Smith getting that 5-year, $100 million deal from ESPN, so he's feeling good. He's feeling loose. He can really feels like he can say whatever he wants, but you can't. When you're critiquing these guys, and even like we're in the media, right? So like I'm still careful about what I say, because we have relationships, we have friendships with these people who we're talking about a lot of the time. So I'm not crossing. It's a line that I feel like that you have to stay on this side of. I'm not going into your personal life, and because I don't know everything that's going on. You know what I mean?
That's what happens a lot in the media now, is a lot of people line and make it personal, and then their responses of shock when an athlete confronts them or approaches them in a way of something that they said and they think is fair game because they're an athlete. You can critique somebody but still critique them as if they're a human being. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
The problem is because a lot of people, and it's not just media, a lot of people, the fans, like, oh, well, that's part of what you get paid for. You get paid, so now we can talk about anything. We talk about
it shouldn't be that though.
You know what I mean? Somebody, if you have to, If you have to miss a game for personal reasons, we need to know what those personal reasons are so that we can decide if it's worth you missing a game or not. That's how fans think. Like, man, nobody got to tell you nothing. What you do?
Exactly.
So
exactly. No, 100%. I just think as like when you're in this position to be, and you have a platform to get stuff out, there's no reason to like challenge people like in their fatherhood or motherhood or whatever. It's like I have a moral obligation to keep it to like what it should be. You know what I mean? I'm not crossing that line. And others feel like when they do it, they're going to get more clicks, or they're going to get, and it will, because people love drama. People love drama, but I'm not gonna do that for me. Like it's a moral responsibility that I have. And like when guys like Stephen A. Smith, who am I to say what he could say? He's making $100 million or whatever it is, but still, like, I'm not going there. Right. Because I feel like for me, like as a person, like I wouldn't feel good about myself starting that.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing. The people who they work for know that what gets attention. And sometimes I think they urge them to say the things that are usually bashing. So a lot of the conversation now that people are asking, like, why is this switch to just bashing athletes has just become so prevalent, where that's all you want to do? You don't want to even talk about, you just want to bash, bash, bash. Well, that's what the executives have, told different people that the fans respond to, so that you'll hear whole shows just of bashing. How many times have we been criticized for being negative enough this year while we're doing this show right here? Like, y'all are players, y'all are being, why are y'all being so positive? I'm like, dang, what y'all want? Y'all want us to just come in here and just bash? That's the way things have switched to, and it don't have to be like that.
You can critique without bashing.
Yes.
And I think people almost want you to be bashing more like, no, he needs to be fired. He can't do this, instead of like, hey, I think he needs to work on this, or like, right. Hey, this was against him right here. Like, if he would have had this, it would have helped him out more. Not just going into, man, that's the easiest thing in the world to do.
I can do that.
And just honestly, E, I'm on your side with this. I don't want to have that type of energy in me.
At all.
I don't want to put that out. I mean, I'm always like trying to be a guy who like, all right, well, how can we fix this? Or how can it get better? And then too, like, it's a time when you have to be realistic about it. Like, all right, it's time for a change. Right? And specifically, we're talking about Q's. You give him one more year. And we see what we can do with the NIL. He doesn't have any support in the NIL. He has it. If he can get that, it's going to be a different game. I don't care who he has on the coaching staff. If you get some players play, right? Obviously, you're going to put the players in positions where they could succeed, right? And some do it better than others. But at the end of the day, players win games, man. You ask the greatest coaches of all time. They're going to tell you the same thing. Players win basketball games.
But also with that, though, it is important to note that when you win, you're praised as a coach. But when you lose, the blame is on you. That's just how it is. So back to what we were saying before, with Rick Pitino, he won everywhere. Drastic changes. Nobody cared about none of that other stuff. Ain't nobody even thinking about none of that. He won. And so you look at Red, he did not win. Red, a nice guy. Love Red, the history of him being in Syracuse, what he done when he was a player, how he is in the town, what he does at charities, all that's great. But what is your winning record? So that's why you see fans, reacting the way that they react, because that's what it all boils down to.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Let's talk about what we think Hughes could do in the ACC tournament.
Season, the Syracuse Center became the first.
Yeah. Everything's all tying in.
It's this guy said Autry has a great story, but you got to win for it to be told. I guess that's
true. That's a good point. 100% accurate. And it's interesting.
That's a good point.
So even with like talking about Pitino, now they have all his quotes everywhere. Like when he said, what is it about you that makes you so weak as a player? You got to be stronger. They only quoting that because he's winning. If he was losing,
Right.
now you would not see that quote anywhere.
At all. At all.
That's what happens.
And he's never really lost, though, either. I mean, I'd have to go through it. He's never really.
No, he wins.
He's won. He's won everywhere. Hold on, this dog.
No, my dog.
Chill out. Hold on real quick. Let me get this in.
Hey, my dog came up here. He just didn't start barking. He just came up here looking like, what's up? And then he left. Yeah. Yeah, man.
What's that? Yeah, somebody come at the door or something.
All kind of stuff going on.
I know. I mean, that was a pretty cool about the before and after with Patino. I mean, that shows a lot, dude. The winning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he won everywhere. He won everywhere. What you gonna say?
You can't say anything.
Probably
Jordan,
quick.
when we come back, we just got like a minute or what? Okay, cool.
4 minutes. All right, that's cool. I try to keep it on the 15, 30, and then 45.
I think Hughes plays Florida State. Oh, yeah, we did a good job with the breaks.
Oh, we did? Pat ourselves on the back. Pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah, they had it. What's his name played well, too? Jair.
Oh, yeah, he was hooping.
Lucas Taylor. Man, it's Chris Bell, man. I just got to get this man going again. Something like for next year.
Man, it's tough. It's tough.
He needs other guys around him, man. Like they need like a guy who's really like a leader to hold guys accountable. Like JJ's not going to speak up,
He's a little quiet.
He's quiet. He can lead with his play, but they need that point guard who's going to come in and like grab you in the jersey.
I don't know if he need all that. You know what I mean? It depends on what he responds to. Because not only about
That's
everybody,
true.
you know what I mean? Grab by the jersey, smack your hand, man, get your hell. You know what I'm saying?
Not like that, but just a guy who like they respect.
Yo, I know what you mean. No, okay. Yeah, I mean, you gotta have a leader. You gotta have a leader. However he leads.
He gotta be a dog. He gotta come in and just be.
Right now. Is it Eddie Lampkin?
Who is their leader?
Who's their leader? Because the person who I see most vocal is Eddie Lampkin.
Yeah, it changes for me. I don't see
ESPN
one.
97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. This is the Etan and Devo Show. Here are former Syracuse standouts Etan Thomas and Eric Devendorf.
You made a great point just before coming back on. Who is Syracuse's leader? I mean, and I couldn't really answer it clearly. I mean, it really changed throughout the season. You had, Eddie Lampkin, who's a vocal guy. You talked about JJ doing it with his play, but it's not a clear-cut leader to me on this team. And to your point, that's what's really missing because you need that guy.
You do, and it's the point guard is such an important position, and you would like the point guard to kind of be that vocal leader. JJ's personality, he seems like he's a little bit more quieter and he leads from example. Really, a point guard is more like a 2. And Carlos doesn't seem like he's real vocal, but I love the way that he distributes the ball on the court. But I don't know, it's tough. And if I had to pick somebody who was a leader, I would probably have to say Eddie Lampkin because he seems like he's the most vocal.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's where I'm leaning towards. But to your point, I think that it has to come from the point guard position. That's like your quarterback, right? Yeah. And I thought Eddie has had a tremendous year. I mean, he talked about 14 double-doubles this year, but the makeup has to be different if he's going to be one of those guys to do that. You know what I mean? Like, he needs guys around him. Like, because he lacks in areas as far as like defensively, rim protection. He's had a great year offensively and rebounding the basketball, but you can't have him be your best player if you want to compete at a high level. I mean, that's just a fact. You have to have better guard play. What's your take with this first game in the ACC tournament? They're playing Florida State, a team who they lost to on the road. I actually did that game.
Yeah, they definitely could beat Florida State. I think that I'd like to see them come out with the same energy that they came with Saturday. It was just fun to see them playing like that. You know what I mean? Playing emotionally, playing with that much high energy, kind of clicking on everything, kind of led, by Eddie, Lampkin with his emotions and physical. What do you you've done that game, so you break it down for us.
Yeah, I think they definitely could beat Florida State. They have to be able to take care of the ball. Florida State thrives off their defense. If they can get turnovers and get out in transition, that's how they want to play. Have to be able to limit Jameer Watkins and Malik Ewing. Those are really the 2 guys. Everyone else just kind of tries to get in and contribute how they can. But if you could limit those 2 guys, you're going to give yourselves a really good chance of winning, and then taking care of the basketball. Like, Eddie has to be aggressive like he was against Virginia. If he can be aggressive like that against Malik Ewing's one of the most skilled centers probably in college basketball. If you really sat down and watch him play, he's, he could shoot it, he could dribble, he could pass it. He's great around the rim. He leads the ACC in field goal percentage. And then Jameer Watkins is, for me, he's one of the most underrated guards in the country. Like, he's 6'7", 215, and his shots improved. He's like a freight train getting downhill. But I think you said it. If they come out and play with effort and energy, you're always going to give yourself a better chance, right? It's like people are going to feed off that. If you could keep that energy and effort going, even when you're missing shots, even when you're not playing good, you're going to give yourselves a better chance. And it's on a neutral court, right? It's not at Florida State like it was during the regular season. So if they could start off by going to Eddie, being aggressive, and maybe get that inside-out balance first off, but just playing really hard, man, with energy and effort, because that's the same type of way Florida State plays. They have to play really hard to be able to win games. And I think, look, they got some momentum going off this win versus Virginia. If they could get, a win here, and then the next game I think they play, it's SMU, who they should have beat, right? And then the next game would be Clemson. So they have a chance to win a couple games in the ACC tournament, but energy and effort, that's key.
That would be great. That would be great to see them go on a little run, in the tournament. So, like I said, we know they're not going to quit. We know they're going to come, and battle to the end. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Before we get off, do we have a projection? Do we have a score?
I don't have a score, but I think they're going to beat Florida State. I say I would have win. I don't know the score, everything like that, but I think we beat them.
I like that. I think I don't have a score either. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do that. But I think they're going to play off this win versus Virginia and come in with a lot of energy and effort. Go down to Eddie and let him be a bulldog and be aggressive. And I think they come out with the win. So we appreciate everybody joining us. We'll see you next Monday. We're back on track. We promise, man. We're going to do Monday from now on, 11 to 12. Me and me. Yeah, okay, we'll do our best. Sorry, we'll do our best. We'll do our best. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We're looking forward to seeing you guys next week.
This